yet or not quite?
Try again.
Okay. All right, it's going to work. Is it up or not? Shoot, it didn't work. Okay, share.
Coming on.
There it is.
Yep.
We got it?
We've got it.
All right,
Yeah.
yay. And does it go all the way to the bottom or?
Yeah. No, scroll your window down so we can see the blessing.
There we go. And of course, that makes me happy because it starts out with the Torah, a women's commentary. Here is our blessing in both Hebrew and English. And I want to invoke the wisdom of my friend and teacher, Rabbi Arthur Roscoe, who loves to play with language. And the words in Hebrew, many of you are familiar with this blessing. So the first part of it is, of course, addressing God. Blessed are you, our God, Melech HaOlam, ruler or king or monarch of the universe, Asher Kidshanu b'mitzvotav, who has given us the blessings of mitzvot, of opportunities to increase holiness in the world. And Vitzivanu, and given us the commandment, the opportunity, and then here's where Rabbi Wasco has fun, la'asok b'divrei Torah. So la'asok sounds like to soak ourselves in the words of Torah. La'asok means to busy oneself. So you see, like Hebrew, we could do the whole hour in Hebrew and it would be so fun talking about the beauty of this language that has sustained the Jewish people for so many centuries. We're not going to do that tonight, but let's begin this prayer together. We'll center ourselves and be present in this room of people who are studying Torah. Who knew that we would be studying virtually, but we're still together thanks to Zoom. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of all, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to engage with words of Torah. Thank you. So now we're going to come back to see the faces. And here we've got Marilyn has joined us. Wonderful. So welcome to all. And so we have arrived, I think many of you know that we make our way through the Torah year after year. I mentioned that last time we came together. And our study, we're meeting every other week. So we're going with the order of the parshiot, the sections that are being read in synagogues. We're not going one chapter at a time, because rather many of us do attend synagogue. And so this way, this gives us a Wednesday, or in the case of our last meeting, we'll meet on a Tuesday, an opportunity to be engaged in the words of Torah that we conclude on Shabbat. So as many of you know, we begin each Shabbat afternoon with a new portion, and the whole week is called according to that portion. So this portion, this week is Lech Lecha. And if babies are born, sometimes it says on the announcement that the child was born in the week of Lech Lecha. Some of us have had the privilege and the joy of getting married, and it may say on our ketubah, on our Jewish marriage document, that we got married in the week of reading a particular portion. So somebody who got married today would be married in the week of Lech Lecha. There would also be the additional Hebrew and English dates, but it's a way that we Jews mark time. And for some, I mean, you know, we Jews have fun with all kinds of numbers and signs and thinking about, okay, well, if I was born in the week of Lech Lecha, then maybe that portion has something particular to tell me. Or you know, or maybe I need to delve into it more deeply to learn about names. We're going to be talking about names and about blessing and about covenant tonight. So I asked all of you to have a copy one way or another of the Torah. And I'm just want to see by your hands, maybe wave if you've got something in your home that you can turn to. So far looks good. Everybody, Steve Merman, do you have something? You don't. Okay. Let's see. We've got Ned tonight, and I bet he might be able to get the text up for you. Could you do that? Do you think our tech angel, Ned, that you could? Yes, he's nodding his head, so that we'll get it up for you. There
Just
are
tell me exactly where should I go?
Okay,
What exactly do you want?
We're going to begin. How about you, Hector? Do you have access to a text? Yes? No?
I can look one up online.
Okay, so you can look it up online. So
yeah,
then,
I'm gonna go on Safari. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's what I was
okay.
going to do. Safari.
Yeah, so, all right. So Ned, you're going to go on Safari for us. Chip's got something great. Allison, welcome. And Rachel, do you have one or not? Or we can get the text for you. I don't want to, you got one kind of. Rachel's not sure. Okay, Marilyn, I know you're set. I want everyone to be literally on the same page. So what we're looking at is Genesis chapter 12, the very beginning of chapter 12, verse 1. So I'm going to wait, and Ned, then you're going to be able to post it for us. Is that correct? I just want the Hebrew and the English, if you can get it up there.
We got it.
We
One
got
second.
it.
Yes,
All
we
right.
already have it.
All right. So we're going to share screen.
We are.
And we are. And here it is, Genesis chapter 12. So this is going to work really well. Thank you very much, Ned.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I would love to have one of you read. So I can't see all of everybody when the thing is up. Can you, Ned, or not? Can you see everybody or not?
I can start to read if you want.
All right, great. Okay, we're going to start at chapter 12, verse 1. And you're going to let those resources at the right-hand side go because we don't need them right now. You can just press on the circle with the X in it at the top where it says resources. And I think they'll go away. Yofi, perfect. And now we're going to go back to Genesis 12.
I'll read from my book.
All right, wonderful. All right, so Muriel, would you please read verse 1 for us, and everyone else will follow along.
Adonai said to Abram, go forth from your land, your birthplace, your father's house, to the land that I will show you. That is verse 1.
Perfect, thank you very much. And so what we're already seeing, and this is how we Jews study Torah, is that we're always going to have more than one translation because every translation is an interpretation. What we see here very clearly is I'd love to have one of you just unmute yourself, and if we have a little cacophony and there's two people speaking at once, that's fine. How would you rephrase this first line? Someone be brave and jump in and say it. Nikki, you look like you might be ready to speak.
I'll try.
Go for it.
Adonai said to Abram, depart from your home, from the place you have grown up, and go to a new place, and I will show you the way.
Wow, great. Thank you. So here we have this command of go out from everything that's familiar to the land that I will show you. I will show you the way. And not only that, Muriel, how about reading verse 2 for us, please?
I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and it shall be a blessing. It is your name.
Okay, great. And that differs a little bit from the English that is up on the page. So who noticed the difference between what Muriel read and what we're looking at?
So in Miriam's, the last part of that verse is, and it shall be a blessing. And in the text on Safari, which I'm actually also using on my iPad, it's, and you shall be a blessing. So the subject of what is a blessing is different there.
Yes, yes. And so here we are already in the wonderful waters of interpretation. The Hebrew is v'haya bracha. So, v'heye bracha. So is it it? Is it you? What does it mean? What does it mean for a person's name to be a blessing? What does it mean for a person to be a blessing? We already have a lot of questions, and then we're going to read one more line. Muriel, please.
I will bless those who bless you, and I will pronounce doom on, this is from the Women's Commentary.
Ah, great.
Pronounce doom on those who curse you. Through you, all the families of the earth shall be blessed.
Wow. So we have some real difference here in the interpretation between Safaria and the Torah, a Women's Commentary. Everybody's using the same Hebrew. When we get to be in person, we're going to sit around a table with a big pile of books. And I'm going to say, and what does Robert Alter say? And then someone else is going to say, and how does Rashi translate this? And this is how, and I know I have a lot of experienced Torah scholars sitting around tonight. You know, this is how we do it. We want to see, how have other people interpreted the Hebrew? How have other people translated the Hebrew? When we have something that seems to be so straightforward and we're already delighting in the nuance. So this portion already, the first two words that we encountered, and Ned, we're going to go back up to verse 1, please. Not the first two words, I'm sorry, there are several words in. And I guess you can't see my pointer. So, but maybe we'll count them in. So in the Hebrew, of course, it reads from right to left. So the first word is vayomer, and, wonderful. And vayomer, and God said, well, and said, and then who said, and the next word, and you can underscore that for us, that would be great. That second word, those four letters, what are those four letters called when they come together like that?
Adonai.
Yes, they can be pronounced Adonai. There's a fancy Greek word for it.
Okay.
Tetragram.
Yes.
Tetragram.
Thank you, Jerry. Jerry is our wonderful lifelong Hebrew teacher. It's the tetragrammaton, tetra 4, and grammaton 4 letters. So these 4 letters, which we actually don't know how to pronounce because they are all breath sounds. The first is a yud, ya, ya. The second is a hey, ha, ha, ha. The third is a vav, va, va. And the fourth is another hey. So how do we pronounce this word? Yud,
Hey, Vav, Hey.
well, that's how we read it, is yud, hey,
I
vav,
don't
hey.
know.
But trying to pronounce it is difficult. And this is where Jehovah came from,
Oh.
where people tried to pronounce this Jehovah. So the word Jehovah, and our wonderful brothers and sisters who are Jehovah's Witnesses, they've taken this word as one of the many names for God. And when Muriel read it for us, she said, Adonai. And in the English that we're looking at, the Sepharia, it says the Lord. So we know what it's supposed to mean. It's supposed to mean God, but how do we actually say it? And for many, many generations, Jews have been pronouncing this word Adonai. And part of the fun of reading the book of Genesis is that God's, and the entire Torah, is that God's names continue to change. And we're going to be talking about that tonight, is how God's name change and the whole issue of name change, which is a particularly fertile area for us as we read the Torah through queer lens. So, Vayomer Adonai El Avram. So a simple translation, and God said El to Avram. Interesting, Avram. I mean, we see it in the English, Abram, but who did we think this guy was? Who ever heard of Abram?
Abraham.
He was Abraham.
Abraham. But
Right.
He becomes
here,
Abraham.
he is Abraham, but here he's called Avram, a shortened version of his name. And we're going to look next at how did Avram become Abraham, but we're still on these first few words. Please, Heshi.
No, I had this on the 2, I will make of you a great nation and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and either it or you shall be a blessing. But if you say, and it shall be a blessing, aren't we saying that what the Lord has done is a blessing? He's going to bless you. I will bless you. I will make your name great, and it shall be a blessing. I will bless those, and it will be a blessing. But everything before that is what he's going to do for you. And so, and it will be a blessing seems to fall back on what he's doing, as opposed to, and you will be a blessing, which is all about you.
Right, the individual.
Not what I've done for you, but you.
Very interesting. So what you're saying here is that the reading really is important.
It's, yeah.
And really will help us understand or interpret the entire story.
And here it also says, I will bless those who bless you and curse him that curses you. So plural to singular.
Wow. Okay.
What is that?
I'm looking at the Hebrew here. It is, and it is in the plural. I will bless those, and I will pronounce doom on, let's see, the translation. All right. Again, just looking here. Well, because it's what God will do, and there is some confusion. Is it the individual or is it a collective here? The Women's Torah commentary chooses to translate it as the collective. Those, not an individual, not him, but rather those who will.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back, and unless there's someone else and whose hand I can't see right now, that's the only problem. But I'd like to go back up to our first sentence because the fourth batch of words, the one that has the hyphen in the middle of it, and again, I thank our wonderful Ned for being our pointer. So, Vayomer Adonai El Avram, no, not that batch, the first batch. So earlier on, where it says Lech Lecha. Yes, that's it. Wonderful. Vayomer Adonai El Avram, Lech Lecha. Lech Lecha. So you, all of us, we don't need to know any Hebrew. What we hear is a repetition. Lech Lecha. Lech Lecha. So here, Lech Lecha, Jerry is one of our Hebrew scholars. So Jerry, what does this mean?
Well, it's like an emphasis. It's like, get yourself out of there. It's like a command, because they didn't have exclamation points back then.
Okay, so get up and go. You go. It's not
Get
just
the hell out of there. Get the hell
right.
out.
Okay.
Right.
So Lech Lecha, may you go. Yeah, Chip, do you have a different translation you want to
I
share?
do. And it said, now the Lord said unto Abraham, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house. So it says,
Okay.
get thee out.
Yeah, it's not just leave, like leave, please leave. No, get out of here. Lech lecha, get out. All right, so here, Chip's translation, Jerry helping us here. Anyone else have an alternative translation they would like to share?
I had I had heard that it could mean go to yourself.
Ah, beautiful. That's right. So now I'm going to share my screen. So we're going to put your screen share on hold for a minute, please, Ned. And I'm going to see if I can. I see. So you need to turn yours off so I can. Ned, thank you. Okay, so now I'm hopefully going to be able to share my screen, which is, oh, so much for my great job of preparing. I thought I got it up. We're going to get it up in just a minute.
Those words would make a great song, by the way.
Well, we've got the song. It's up here. It's coming in a minute. Okay, so here we go. All right. Is this sharing or not yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Here we go. It's up now. Share. All right. So we're going to do the song in a few minutes. So this is a song that I bet several of you know, but the title of it is a little different. So what I'd like to do is to look here, and those of you who have the Women's Torah Commentary can turn to page 82. I typed this in as it appears on page 82. So Debbie Friedman wrote a song with which we will conclude tonight called Lechi Lach. And I wanted to point out for all of us what the editors of the Torah, a Women's Commentary did for us. They helped us to understand what Debbie Friedman did. That here it's go forth or go forth to yourself in feminine address. That's Lechi Lach. These are the words of the male lover to the female lover in Song of Songs, Lechi Lach. Lech Lecha, as we're reading it in our Torah portion tonight, or go forth for yourself, is a masculine address. These are God's first words to Avram that we just read. So
those words were not her. See, all that time, I always thought that she created those words, but you're saying that they were already in Song of Songs.
Yes. Yes. So I'm not saying this, actually. It's Andrea Weiss and Tamar Eskenazi, the wonderful editors of the Torah, a Women's Commentary. So what I'd like to do is to look at a poem that Andrea Weiss wrote about Lech Lecha. And as you may know, that this book that Muriel is using and that I'm using I was fortunate enough to work on the book, and that one of the innovations of this commentary is that for every portion, there's contemporary poetry at the end of the portion. And this was the area that I worked particularly on. And we were fortunate that one of the editors wrote a poem herself. So who's a good reader? Ellen, would you be willing to read this poem for us, please?
Oh, I'd love to.
Thank you.
Go forth on a journey. Go by yourself. Standing at a crossroads, you venture from the known to the unknown. Some journeys must be made alone. Go to yourself, spiral inward, and unwrap your past and your potential. Remember that the soul which you have made is unique and holy. Go to yourself, smell the fragrance which spreads across the land as you roam and wander. Refresh yourself under the tree which grows by a spring at the side of the road. Make your name great and make your life a blessing.
So I know it's always hard to respond to poetry the first time we see it, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Is there anyone who would like to say something now that this poem has been read so beautifully for us by Ellen? And you can just unmute yourself and start to speak.
So, so what this basically is in our growing up, I mean, pretty much we have to learn the lessons on our own. People can get us there, but the lesson has to be learned on our own. And so to be so go out, start to look at the world, look inward, look all around, look at, you know, your past, your future, your potential, your possibility. Like wake up and smell the roses. Kind of wake up and smell the roses, and do it on your own. I mean, they're your lessons, your mistakes to make, your lessons to learn. But it's a process.
Yeah, I really like that, and also would definitely add, you know, again, staying with the it's your potential, it's your measuring up to yourself, not anybody else. You know, you don't have to, you know, your journey is yours. It doesn't have to be the same as your parents or your cultures or, you know, somebody else's. This is your journey. This is, you know, this is you being the best you that you can be.
I'm going to say that for me personally, in today's circumstances, being alone, that these are directions, that these are instructions on how to be during this time of COVID. Reminder of the potentials that are here.
And for me, this always reminds me of when my marriage broke up and I had to go off kind of and explore and learn about myself.
And I'm going to add that as well, that when I read the lines that say, you know, you have to go forth, you know, alone, you know, you venture from the known to the unknown, some journeys must be made alone. You know, if the poem's ended there, that sounds really scary. But then we get the whole rest of the poem, which is just beautiful, which says, you know what, you're going to be okay. Just trust in yourself, and, you know, remember who you are and be true to yourself. And you can, as it says at the end, make your name great and make your life for a blessing.
I like that there are overlays of different journeys in here. There's a physical journey to a place, but there's also the mental journey that the poet is telling you to take inside yourself. What's also interesting to me is I write poetry and I've written on this parashah, and it's interesting to see how we all take the notion of journey and write about it in different ways and in different places, and it still fits in different points of your life.
Thank you.
Yet make your name great to some extent implies what other people would think of you and what you do. And that's a little bit of a contradiction to me.
Wow. Do you want to say more about that, Steve, or? Chip has his hand up, so maybe we'll let
Go
Chip
ahead, Steve.
respond and
No.
then, all right, whatever. Steve and then Chip.
It just in some way speaks to the image you create to others rather than how you see yourself. Chip, what is your thought?
So I read this, and as a gay man who loves Broadway, I see the show Pippin, where he's going out and finding himself and finding the who he is.
So this reminds me of Hillel. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? If I'm only for myself, what am I? Now this, I mean, that's much later, but it seems to be this theme in Judaism that, you know, we have this journey that we need that we go on, where our core value system is developed, and these are all things, lessons that we learn, but we have to look out for our neighbor. We have to look out for the other person, the other, and take care of the other. So I kind of see it all together, hodgepodge.
Well, and what this is, it's also responding to the fact that this is in the context of God creating a covenant with Abraham and Sarah. So, I mean, God begins, I don't want to say he, God begins by saying, go forth from your land, your birthplace, your father's place, your father's house, to the land that I will show you. And then we didn't go on, but it says very clearly, Avram went forth as God had told him. And Avram was 75 years old when he left Haran. That hit me in a new way when I read it again, to prepare. 75, good heavens. That really resonates differently with some of us than it might have the first or second or 15th time that we read it. And Avram took his wife Sarai. So right there, we've got God speaking to Avram, who is accompanied by Sarai. And when God speaks again to the two of them, it is very much to the two of them together. And I do want to move ahead now because I want us to look at another portion as well. And you're going to help me, Ned. We are going down to, I moved my, it's one of those, I moved my cheese, and where do I want to send us? Okay, chapter 17, verse 1. So those of you who have a book, you're going to go there. I'm going to stop sharing so that Ned can share again from Safaria. And while he's pulling it up, I just want to say a word about Safaria, safaria.com. The word sefer in Hebrew, of course, means book. Safaria is a word for library, and there's this fabulous virtual library online for us. It's totally free. And of course, we can all make contributions to make sure that it's more available to us. As Ned is putting it up, you're going to see that you can, it's not just, I mean, there's the name of the website up at the top, and with the letter Samech, the word Sefer, which means, as I said, book, safaria.org. It's a nonprofit, and you can do amazing, amazing study. We could spend a whole session just on how to use Safaria. I use it all the time, and so do hundreds and hundreds, probably thousands of folks. And one of the great things is that lots of teachers, Jewish teachers, rabbis, cantors, and others who are Jewish teachers use it to prepare sheets for their students. So sometimes when you're working on something and you think, oh, I think I'd like to teach XYZ, find out someone else has already done it. And it's a complete open shared situation. So
Really good.
it's
Yeah.
really
also,
great.
I think it's also an app on your phone too.
Oh, I was just about to say, I use it. I'm using it on my iPad, and it is, the app is incredibly easy to navigate, and just everything is, it's so good. Like,
Oh, great. Thank you, Allie. All right. So here we are, chapter 17, and we are welcoming David back from his meeting. Nice to see your beautiful face. And who would like to read now? Jerry, you just happened to come up, so go for it, please. Verse 1, chapter 17. But you need to unmute, my dear.
Hebrew or English?
We're going to do it in English, please.
When Abram was 99 years old, the Lord appeared to Abram and said to him, I am El Shaddai, walk in my ways and be blameless.
All right. So what do you notice about what happened between chapter 12 and chapter 17? Let's hear from you. Just speak out because I can't see everybody's face.
Well, he got a lot older. He's 99.
Okay, so here we went from 75 to 99. What else?
Well, he must have done something right, because he is in God's favor, apparently.
Okay, God is still speaking to him.
Yes.
What else do you observant folks notice?
I want to know why it says hitalech, like walk to yourself or something, or I don't know what that means.
Okay, so Vayomer, love, where do you, oh, I see.
The fourth word from the
Ani
end.
El Shaddai hitalech lifnei v'haya tamim. Ah, I see. I am El Shaddai. No one's commented on that yet.
Yeah.
Wake up, my beautiful students.
Yeah.
Okay, and walk, yes, walk before me, or walk in my ways, and be tamim, blameless. I would love to hear some other translations, but what about this El Shaddai name? What's going on here?
Shaddai.
Some people say that it's an acronym for Shomer Delatot Yisrael, the guard of the doors of Israel.
Okay. So what else?
That's on your. That's on the mezuzah, or at least the first letter of Shaddai is on the mezuzah.
Ah, okay, good. The shin is on the mezuzah. What else? Who else?
I was looking at commentary that said it was feminine because it came from the word for breasts.
Aha. Okay. So here God is giving God's name, and it's different than the name we saw before. Before we saw the tetragrammaton, Yud He Vav He, and here we have Yud He Vav He, but God is saying that Ani El Shaddai, Adonai spoke to Vayar. Ah, so this is also different. So Vayar Adonai El Avram. So before we had Vayedaber, I think that's what it said, right? And God spoke to Avraham. Oh, Vayomer, sorry. Vayomer, and God spoke to Avraham. And here, Vayar Adonai El Avram, and God appeared. This is the verb to see. God appeared in the passive to Avraham and said to Avraham, Vayomer, Alav, to him, Ani El Shaddai. So here, this somewhat mysterious name of God is now put forth. And it's not the only time that God presents God's self with a different name.
How many names does God have?
Many.
Many. I don't know the exact number of names that are in the Torah and in the Tanakh, and then in Jewish, in the corpus of Jewish study. I would actually have to look up that number, but there are many names. God calls God's self of many names. And I'm wondering, can anyone think of any other name that God gives God's self in the Torah that you're familiar with?
Elohim.
Okay.
Hashem.
Hashem.
That's not really a name.
Not
No.
sure that God, it says Hashem. I think Hashem is what
The name.
it's the name, but I don't know if God says I am the name. Jerry, do you think? I would have to look that one up.
It's like saying Hamakom, the place, but that's not God's name. That's the name we gave to God. But
that's right.
Yeah, but this, according to the famous Google, there are seven names of God.
Vakasha, please share them with us.
The Tetragrammaton: Eloah, Elohim, Shaddai, Ehyeh, Tsevaot.
All right. Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh. Does anyone remember where that one comes from, or where God says Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh?
Is that the burning bush?
Yes, biduk, yay. At the burning bush, God presents God's self as Ehyeh Asher Ehyeh, and it's a mystery even today. What does it mean? I am who I am. I will be who I will be. Ehyeh, I am. It's both present and future. So here is a God who names God's self. And in this portion, and we've already had another portion in Bereshit, Adam gave names to the animals. But here, God is giving new names to Avram and Sarah. So let's move down here. So I'm just going to read this quickly. I will establish my covenant between me and you. I will make you exceedingly numerous. Avram threw himself on his face, and God spoke to him further. As for me, says God, Ani hine briti. Here, this is my covenant with you, itcha. V'hayita, and you will be la'av hamon goyim. You will be the father of a multitude of nations. And we're going to move it down a little bit, please, Ned. And you shall no longer be called Avram, but your name shall be Avraham. For I will make you the father of a multitude of nations, and I will make you fertile, and I will make my covenant with you. I'm going to keep moving down, please, because we also want to see that Sarah's name is also good. Sarai's name is going to be changed to Sarah. And that is going to happen in verse 15. So thank you for scrolling down for us. And God said to Abraham, as for Sarai, you shall not call her Sarai, but her name shall be Sarah. And for all the things I said I would do for her, for you, I'm going to do some special stuff for her too. I will bless her. I will give you a son by her. We already know he's 99. Whew. And we know this beautiful story of, she says, she laughs later and she says, I don't have the ways of women anymore. How can I possibly have a son? And nothing is too hard for God. So what I wanted to move to here is, because of the wonderful pleasure we have of studying the Torah through a queer lens, is this whole issue of name change. And I found a wonderful article thanks to Hadar online. And Rabbi Avi Strasberg writes beautifully and wrote an essay a couple of years ago on this parsha, to be more like God, the power to self-define. And she writes that here, God is defining Avram and Sarai and changing their names. And she comes up with this wonderful question of, so what do we call Avram and Sarai later in the Torah? Do we call them Abraham and Sarah, or do we go back to their original names? And she does some wonderful, wonderful research. And for those of you who would like to follow it up, I put in the chat, at the very top of the chat, the link to this whole essay that you can read, but I thought I wanted to share it with you. We can stop the screen share right now. Thank you, Ned. So this way I get to see the beautiful faces in front of me. And I wanted to share what Rabbi Strasberg has written. And I'm going to just share this with you because I thought it was so thoughtful. The question of how we respond to a name change is a live issue, she writes. I bet there's many of us on the screen tonight who have either changed our own names or have folks very close to us who have changed their names. And the question is, so what do we do about that? How do we keep our hearts open? And, you know, I think in a maybe silly way, when my sister went to college, she decided, her name was Elizabeth, but she had never been called Elizabeth. She had been called Betsy. And she decided that Betsy was too immature a name for a girl to go to college, a young woman to go to college. So we sat down and put the word, her name, Elizabeth, at the top of the page, and then wrote all the derivatives that one could make out of Elizabeth. And at the time, I think I was her big sister, so I was rolling my eyes about a lot of things she did. But, you know, I really wondered, come on, we've been calling you Betsy for 18 years. You know, really think you're going to change this? And she did. She became Elizabeth and was Elizabeth for the rest of her life. So we have some much more consequential changes in some of our lives of choosing to change our names when they don't fit us, when they don't fit who we are. We take names often when after an illness, I'm going to be a different person. Some of us change our name through marriage. Others of us change our name because we just can't live with that name that was given to us. And we're now going forth in the world in a different way. And Rabbi Strasberg writes and shares with us some really beautiful texts. And this one from the Talmud. Rabbi Yitzchak said, a person's sentence is torn up, a person's goral, a person's life is changed, their fate is changed on account of 4 types of actions. And here we are, just a month and a half, 2 months from Yontif, where we all did the Unatana Tokef. And we may remember that what will soften the decree, we ask again and again, utshuva, utstaka, utfila, turning, doing justice work, or prayer. But here's a different text from the Talmud that said 4 things can change a person's fate or direction. They are giving charity, all right, we got that one, crying out in prayer, a change of one's name, and a change of one's deeds for the better. So I thought it was so interesting that here we have tshuva, which is really a change in one's deeds, staka, which is doing justice work, and tefillah, which could be crying out in prayer. But the rabbis add a 4th thing, that changing one's name can be a very important step in changing one's fate, in choosing one's soul direction. And the rabbis who write this Talmudic piece say, as it is written, as for Sarai, your wife, you shall not call her Sarai, but Sarah shall be her name, and she shall go forth with this name. And this wonderful piece concludes by saying that when a person changes his or her own name, that it is up to us to take that name into our hearts and to bless that person with that name. If they want to share, well, I used to be called this, but now I am this, it's up to them. And she, the rabbi who writes this, makes the parallel of when we're dealing with people who choose to be Jewish, that the right behavior of a Jew is not to say, well, what were you before? What was it like when you were living as Catholic? But, oh, well, your name is Christine. You weren't born as a Jew as Christine or Christina, were you? So we now find we have Jews named Chris, and we have Jews named Colleen, and we have Jews with all kinds of wonderful names. And the righteous behavior is to say, Colleen, what a beautiful name. Did you choose a Hebrew name as well? No, I never did. All right, fine. But how do we embrace each other? And we call each other by the name that we present. Rabbi Nachman writes, she taught, this Rabbi Strasberg teaches, that name is not an arbitrary thing to which we are assigned at birth. Rather, our name has the power to define us. It is the source of our very vitality. When we honor a person's choice of a new name, we allow them, that individual, the power to define themselves. When we fail to respect this choice, it's as if we deny them their very life source. So the point that is made in this essay is that although God changes Sarah and Avram's name, God is the one who names God's self. I am who I am. And so we have the power to emulate God, to be truly created in God's image, when and if we choose a name for ourselves and live up to it, because we are looking to have our soul really reflect our being and to have our name reflect our being. So many people do choose to change their name at different times in their lives. As some of you know, I'm a member of Anacrusis, and one of our favorite songs is a song that Audre Lorde, using the words of Audre Lorde, and she chose a name for herself at the end of her life that she wanted to share, an African name that she wanted to share with the world. That name is Gamba Adisa, and we love singing that song. So I know we are really running out of time, but I did want to end with a song, Debbie Friedman's song, Lechi Lach. And it's a particularly beloved song to me because I was there the first time it was sung. It was sung when my beloved friend, Savina Tuval, Zichronah Livracha, celebrated her 65th birthday and took on a new name. And it was on this Parsha, and Debbie wrote this song, Lechi Lach, for Savina. As many of you know, Debbie has also passed away. This year will be her 10th yard site. It's very hard to believe. She was such an amazing person. And so what I'd like to do actually is I'm going to put up the words of her song, and if we're lucky, we're going to be able to hear her sing it. So here is her song, and I'm going to put it up at the top. And if we're lucky, we're going to be able to hear her sing. And let's see if that works. Can you see the words still?
Hello, everyone. I am asking for your help.
I'm sorry. Oh dear. All right. How do we control him? No. All right.
Is there
Sorry.
is there a website that you're going to? I could put it up.
Yes, it is a website. Okay, we got it. Here's Debbie. So now you see the words, and here's Debbie singing. And thank you for putting up with that. Can you hear it?
Yes.
Good.
To a place you do not know. On your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. And I shall make your name great. And all shall praise your name. To the place that I will show you. Listen, listen, place you do not know. On your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Thank you. I love that song.
Thank you. And I'm sorry we have to end so early tonight, but next time we'll have a little more time. I really would have liked to have more time for to hear more from you. But I put in the chat, and I think that Ned was kind enough to put it in again. I tried to look while Debbie was singing, the link to the Devar Torah by Avi Strasberg.
Yeah, I don't see it there yet.
Oh,
So-
all right. I can do it again. Let's see. It's down at the bottom, I think. Oh, is that it? Yep.
Now there's a link.
Okay.
Are you going to share what we're doing next time?
Yes. Next time, we are going to be doing Chaye Sarah. So, as many of you know, I mean, it's 2 Torah portions from now. And here we had the introduction to Sarai, and it's a wonderfully rich portion because it's called The Life of Sarah, and it begins with the death of Sarah. So and with all of these parshiot, we could spend much more time than we are on each parsha, but this is just an opportunity for us to taste some of the, I hope, low-hanging fruits, and to know that each of these parshiot, that the Torah is indeed an Eitz Chaim, a tree of life, and can nourish us throughout our lives, wherever we are. So wherever we are on our own journey, and indeed we are all on a journey. So thank you all, beautiful souls, for joining together tonight to study a little Torah. And those of you who are going off to a meeting, have a good meeting. And the next time we see each other, the world will have changed. And God willing, it will change for the better. And especially in our dear city, where we need each other, and we need so much love, and we need to continue to fight for justice.
Amen. Amen.
All right. So, Lechi Lach.
See you next time.
May we all have blessing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.